I want to turn now to the Caribbean, where newly published satellite images, those come from outer space, are revealing the expansion of electronics eavesdropping. Stop, stop, stop. Let's start over again. I can't get this prompter to roll. There we go. Got it. Got it. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the PDB Situation Report. I want to turn now to the Caribbean, where newly published satellite images are revealing the expansion of electronic eavesdropping stations in Cuba, which are believed to be linked to China. I know, that's shocking. These stations include new construction just 70 miles from the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay. You remember Gitmo. Last year, reports emerged about China and Cuba negotiating closer defense and intelligence ties, including setting up a joint military training facility and running eavesdropping operations. Oh, good. I don't see how that can go wrong for U.S. national security. It turns out they might already be in business, but the exact locations, well, they were kept under wraps. The recent findings by the Center for Strategic and International Studies shed light on these hidden sites. Experts are worried that they're worried about this, that China is using Cuba's proximity to the southeastern U.S. to tap into sensitive communications from American military bases, space launch facilities, and shipping routes. They're expressing concern. They're worried about it might be happening, as if it's somehow not happening. On top of that, Chinese facilities on the island might help them spy on U.S. citizens through telecommunications networks. To break down what all this means, we've got retired Colonel John Mills with us. He's the former director of cybersecurity policy, strategy, and international affairs, try putting that on a business card, at the Department of Defense. And now, John is a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy. He's also author of a great book, War Against the Deep State. Colonel Mills, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, Mike, thank you. It's just an honor to be on your show.
Well, you'll think differently. So, hey, listen, I really do mean it, though. You're a perfect guest to have on to talk about this. Are we looking at the Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0 here?
Well, now that you've brought that expression up, I've been poo-pooed for this, but by Chinese doctrine, if they're going to put this much investment in an overseas facility, such as Djibouti, such as Cambodia, they put long-range air defense missiles. Now, the original agreement, I'm not sure if it was in writing or has been digitized from the Cuban Missile Crisis, was no offensive missiles to be reintroduced into Cuba. Well, the modern air defense missiles, the S-300 and S-400, guess what? Are dual purpose. They can hit air targets, but they can also hit ground targets, and they have a long range. They can knock down airliners over Orlando. So I would say, in addition to the unbelievable footprint that is now in Cuba by China, we have a second Cuban Missile Crisis in progress. So, and can't count on the DNI that this is above the intelligence collection priority stack. Everybody go to the DNI website and look up the Intel Community Directive on the priority stack. Not revealing any classified information, I have low confidence, using an Intel community term, that this is above the cut line and that we're actually apportioning any collection resources to figure out what in the world is going on in Cuba.
Now, this is going to sound perhaps a little odd, but have the Chinese essentially pushed the Russians out? Look, the Russians obviously, they helped build the Cuban society under Castro. They helped build the Cuban intelligence service and maintain it. And so when you think about Cuba and you think about a nation hostile to U.S. interests, it's always Russia when we talk about Cuba. But have the Chinese somehow pushed the Russians out?
Well, I think the correct way to look at Russia, Iran, and North Korea, they are now colonies of China. China is exploiting. Russia is cash strapped. NATO just made this shocking statement that Russia would not be in the war in Ukraine if it wasn't for Chinese support. I think China has essentially taken advantage of the cash poor situation of Russia and has moved in and taken over. Now, when the first base, the old Lourdes facility, southwest of Havana, was announced last year with the, I think it was New York Times report, An undisclosed source, that's always Jake Sullivan, said, "Oh yeah, it happened during the Trump administration." Yeah, I've actually been right outside the room when John Brennan talked on background media, so I know this game of talking on background. It's pathetic. So last summer, the first facility, the old Lourdes facility, and Jake Sullivan said it happened during the Trump years. Oh, yeah, we knew about it. It happened during the Trump years. Well, with a modicum of research, I came up with a Miami Herald article from the 90s saying Chinese spy base in Cuba. So who's telling the truth here? So I would say they have been there for a long time already, but now it's not one spy base. Now they got the elephant cage down near Guantanamo, the old HF collection facility, and they got four other facilities. So we have a very robust Chinese footprint. We're failing to enforce the Monroe Doctrine, and they're sitting there over in the Bahamas. They're sitting astride the undersea cables going right down to downtown Miami at the Terramark facility. I mean, what in the world? What worse things could possibly happen?
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.